Hello and welcome to Be Divine Vintage. Thank you for joining me on my channel today. I've made a little notebook out of some of the postcard graphics from Paper Cameo. Really pretty. I was going to decorate quite elaborately, but actually once again it's a very plain decoration. I've used a little bit of Tim Holtz. I've used some stitching, inking. I've put different size papers in. I just have a chat to you about your papers that you might use inside. The stitching that I've used, I've done a running stitch on with the sewing machine, but you could do a pamphlet stitch. Why have I not over embellished it? Well, these are some of the papers from the Isabel range. So as you can see, they are very, very decorative. So if that was to fit in a pocket there, if it was overly embellished, you may well lose it on that. For example, there's this one as well. So they are very decorative papers, and I think lets the decoration show in these graphics. That would be nice against or something like that in a pocket, wouldn't it? But it doesn't need more embellishment itself. Paper Cameo, you've done an amazing job with these papers. This I've printed onto paper with red cabbage. I mean, look at that. How amazing is that? That would actually go really nice on there. So I don't want to lose the beauty of these papers in over embellishment of my ephemera. So follow along, see how I've done this, and please subscribe to my channel, please like, please put me a comment on. I do love to read the comments, and I do always try to, well, I always respond as far as I know. Some might slip through the net, but not usually. So come along and let's make this little notebook. For the journal, I'm going to be using these papers here from the Isabel collection to make a little book. In fact, I'm going to use these top two here, they're both pinks, to make a book which I can use as ephemera within size inside the actual main journal. So I'm just going to cut them out, and then I'm going to attach them to some sturdier card. I want to use this as the front of my journal, of my little notebook, sorry. So that needs to go on the right hand side, and this being the back on the left hand side. So I'm adhering it with dry glue to this quite sturdy paper, well, it's card, which is I don't know the exact poundage, but it's similar to a cereal package type weight. So as I'm going to stitch around these, I'm just using the dry glue. I'm just going to stick those onto there. Now, because I will want a little bit of spine, not that much, but I will want a little bit, I'm just going to leave that little space in between, because I'll probably put a piece of lace down there. So I've got one address facing right and the other address facing left for the front and back of the book. And this, as you can see, is it's either tea or coffee stained paper that I've done on a pizza tray, and that's how you get these circles on there. So that will go there. So what I'm going to do now is cut these out, and I'll be back with you shortly. So this is some avocado stained paper that got stuck in my printer. So I'm going to use this just to line the inside of my book with. As you can see, when I fold it to become a book, the address facing right there, and on the back the address facing left from the postcard. So I'm just going to put some glue on here. In fact, you know what I think I'm going to do too, and it's always a good idea, is to put some tape down the middle to because I'm going to stitch it with the sewing machine, if I pop some tape down the middle, it will give extra strength to that spine. And of course I can't undo my masking tape. Here we go, I think I've got it. I hate masking tape, I hate it. It never ever ever seems to want to peel off all in one strip for me. There we go, I've got it. So I'm just going to put, see what I mean? Never fear, never fear. Just going to put that down the middle there. And a little bit more. Do you have this problem with tape? I'm sure you, Carol, said that you do. I think it's just a crafter's nightmare, this stuff. There we go, that's on there. So just put some glue on now and stick this paper over the top, and then I'm going to cut the paper, trim the paper, and I'm going to use a blanket stitch, I think, all around the edge. Let's take it from here. Line everything up just so. Wonderful, wonderful. So I'm going to trim this off here, and then I'm going to stitch around the edge with blanket stitch. I'm going to stitch down here, and I'm going to stitch down this side as well. I know I'm going to put some lace down, but just for the purposes in my mind, so that I know it's all finished off nicely, I'm going to go all the way around. So there we go, that's stitched all around the edge. A bit of a wobble there. Stitched all around. I'm going to get my ink. This one is peeled paint, and you don't have to use the same colour all the time throughout the journal. It's good to experiment with other colours, because I've had vintage photo on here, there is still a bit of the brown on, so it's like a browny green colour. Looks nice. And we'll just go around inside as well. So next what I'll need to do is I need to pick my papers. So in here I want to put a selection of vintage papers and vintage music score. Just adding a bit extra to the corners. Just want it to look a little bit like well thumbed. There we go, like that. I want to put a selection of papers in here, so I've just been through my vintage stash, and this is what I've come up with. This is off a sewing book, knitting book. You can see the knitting needles and the hands, so I thought that was quite pretty. These are from America, these, and they are Victorian, and the ladies' brooches, and there's clocks and teapots and things on there, so I thought those would go quite nice in. So I want them all, of course, to be a similar, well, they don't have to be a similar size actually. Varied sizes do look nice. So I literally, I don't measure, I just have a look where I think is a nice size, and I literally will get my ruler and just tear off. And again down here I will just tear off. Now I'm going to hang on to these because of these. This writing is great writing. So these go together. I've got, this is a piece of vintage writing paper. So let's have a look where we fancy this one. I think when there are different sizes, they do actually. In fact, if we tear this one in half, roughly in half there, when they are different sizes, they do add that additional interest to your journal. Oh, there's actually 2 sheets of that together. Okay. So let's just, need to take about 1 centimetre off there. Yeah, when your papers are different sizes, it does actually add additional interest to your book. So we've got those, we've got those. These are out of a vintage jotter pad. So let's have a look here. So they're the right height, just a little long, but I do like this edge. So I'm going to keep that edge. So let's fold it where it needs to be. So about there. And then we can just tear off down here. I mean, these pages don't even have to be the same size. Each of the 2 halves, so you can have a larger one and a smaller one. So we've got those. And then I just want to put a little bit of this ledger in. I'm going to just use this one. So these are this is Victorian ledger. Now it's just a little bit big. Oh. So let's find where is the right place to fold it. I bet you're saying there's a ruler there, use your ruler. But I'm just not a ruler measuring kind of girl. That's there. I'm going to keep this, I like that where it says 101. That's 1. Let's fold another around it. Now, I'm not going to tear any off the length of this. I'll show you for why in a second. More fingers and thumbs today. I've been with my daughter and we've been, I breastfed all of my 3 children. However, obviously, Jessica's first baby, she's not breastfed any. So she was doing a breastfeeding course online. I did the breastfeeding course with her and baby was kicking away. So I'm just feel like fingers and thumbs because this baby's going to be here either next week or the week after. For sure, because it's a planned section. Now I've folded these up and what happens here is now it just makes a little spot to tuck something in. So let's sort our papers out now how we want them. So yeah, I just feel nervous because then I was upstairs in a room and we were just going through the baby's room. So she says, will you just talk me through on this teddy bear? A nappy, right? Okay. So I said, well, you show me what you know. So she got the teddy bear and she just put it on the plastic change mat. And I said, would you not think we should just sort of put something on the change mat first? Why? Well, will it not be a bit cold? Oh yeah, I hadn't thought of that. So we put a little muslin on. Right, so I'm going to put that one there. And then you put these there, you get that nice, you see that nice contrast? Yeah, so we put a muslin on. Right, put a muslin on. Right. Can you just remind me why we put that muslin on? Yep, because that is very cold for your baby just to lie on. It is in the United Kingdom because it's spring and it's still quite cold at the moment here. There we go, let's have a look at that. Now, if a little bit sticks out like that, to me, it doesn't really matter. It just adds to the overall effect. Now I'm going to stick 2 of these in, so I'm going to put one sort of above, and I'm going to put one lower down, so these will overlap. Now if you want to do, you can go around with your inks and ink up these edges of these pages. I'm not going to do that. I'm happy with things how they are. Let's put this brooches in there. Let's have a look. Yep. So we could have that, just brooches is a bit taller, so we could just have it sticking out at the top like that. I mean, we could always at this point put one of those like that, and then whoever's journal this is, they could write details on there. Just seeing if that's the right way. Yeah, right. Let's just keep checking we've got it the right way up. Yep. So yeah, so we're talking through just changing the nappy. When I was pregnant back in the 80s, we had parent craft classes where you went along and they took you to delivery suite, you know, they're showing you different things. But there's none of that now. There just isn't, whether it's lack of funding or what it is. I just absolutely no idea. Absolutely no idea. So, I mean, it's great that she's relying on me to show her, which I love to do. However, you know, I had my mum and parent craft classes. So what if you've not got a mum to help you there, or a, you know, or a dad? Let's not knock the gentleman here. You know, what if you've not got anybody to show you what to do? She said, well, before you come out of hospital, they make sure that you know how to, you have to go through the sleeping, how to put the baby down for a sleep. And I thought, well, is that it? Is that it? But yeah, that seems to be it. Right, so that is going to go in there. So I'm just going to go to my sewing machine and I'm going to stitch that, just a running stitch, straight down the middle and then straight back up again. And what I'm actually going to do here, let's just get a couple of these and just to hold this paper in place. So it stays in place. Right, I'm just going to go and stitch that. I'll be back very, very shortly. I was going to decorate this so much more. I'd got all my bits and pieces out. I got my Tim Holtz ephemera and some of my own ephemera out to decorate with, but I just can't. I just can't. I just love the naturalness about this journal. And once you see me start working with the papers in the journal, you'll understand why. So what I've done, and I've realised I do say so ever such a lot, is this is one of my favourite laces and I've not much of it left. I've stitched 2 pieces together just using a zigzag stitch, and I'm going to pop that down the middle there. In fact, I'm going to just ink there, then we don't have just white showing through. So there we go. I'm normally someone who like puts loads and loads of decoration on. I even got out my wax bath and things. I thought, let's put some wax on, but I just can't seem to bring myself to do it. I'm going to get this, and this is my fabric tack. I'm going to go down the middle, and I need to make sure that this is well stuck on, because obviously it's the spine of the book. So I'm sorry if it's a bit like teaching grandmother to suck eggs, some of the things that I'm doing, but it's just what's working out for me. Let's take that there. Just going to cut off at the top there, just straighten that up. That is really pretty. And then I've got these, this is the same tag, it's on the same piece of ephemera, but I've torn them off. One says, I think it's for writing your addresses in, and one says made in France. So I'm going to pop one on the front there and one on the back here. However, I thought I might put this little frame. So this is the only other bit I've taken out of my Tim Holtz. This like little picture frame here. It's like off negatives. In fact, I've got some vintage negative frames I could have used. And I'm going to put it around there. Thought that'd look nice. Let's just get my glue and glue that on. So I'm sorry I've not done any waxing, but I promise I will do. I promise I'll do some waxing soon. She says, I will. So when I done my waxing videos, so many people watched and commented. So let's just pop this. Just sort of decide. I'm going to just take it sort of off centre on that rose. There, like that. I'm going to have this, which I think it says you to write addresses. I'll just stick this one on the front. There. This one on the back. And I actually think for this journal that is absolutely enough. Manufactured in France, Saint Etienne. I think that's what it says. I think Saint Etienne is the name of a town. That's that. So that will close like that. So let's just think I need a little bit more glue. Yes, I do, along here. So we're planning a trip in the summer to Suffolk and Kent, and the two places that we haven't really visited. We went to Kent about 14 years ago, and it just rained all the time and it really spoiled it. So I'm going to go, because we want to go to Cambridge, to Canterbury. We had our puppy with us. She's not coming this year, but she's an old dog now, but we had the puppy with us, so we couldn't go into the cathedral together, Canterbury Cathedral, so no doggy this time. She's be staying at home. It's difficult enough just getting her to walk like outside from inside, so she's not coming. So we'll be able to go to Canterbury, and we'll want to walk some of the Pilgrim's Way. I remember doing at school, I studied the Canterbury Tales, so I'm really looking forward to that. And we're going to visit some of the medieval towns and villages around there. And there's some great medieval places, pubs and things, places to eat. So I think that is enough on there. And that'll just pop into a pocket within my journal. There's the front, and it's made from postcard graphics. On the back, I'm trying to keep this French theme going. You'll see why as we go through. And then inside I've got a selection of modern and vintage papers. People often say to me, well, if you've got this here, what can you do on that? Because you can't write. Well, I beg to differ. You could write in a different coloured pen. You could write along here. You could glue something on if you've got a picture or something you want to glue on. For example, if you know, you could just glue something down it, picture down it. Here we've got the little space, little pocket there. Here we can write along this way. So it's about having different ways to write, places to glue things in, a variation of papers, different size papers, all to add interest to the book, to your notebook. There we go, there's a different size again, and there's that one. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this little video, and I will see you again soon.